Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our monthly faculty meeting. I'm the Right Reverend David Cook, and before we get going, just let me mark the roll. Dr. Jansen Codron.
Present.
Dr. Alan Thompson.
Yes, present, Brew.
And the Reverend Dr. Sam Chair.
Yo, what's happening?
Okay, guys, on the agenda today, as you know, we are looking for a new church history lecturer. As you know, our current church history lecturer, the Reverend Stuart Colton, is on study leave in Europe at the moment. My spies tell me that he is gallivanting around Europe, drinking cocktails and hugging some water buffalo grass wherever he goes. So, we're looking for a new church history lecturer. Anyway, before we begin, how about we start our time in prayer? Pope.
So I was having a coffee break. With my apostolic authority, I thus bless this meeting. Hat, stomach, coffee cup, mic.
Amen.
Amen.
So, Bonhoeffer. We've had an application from Bonhoeffer.
Oh, the half! I love the half.
No, not that half. Bonhoeffer.
Oh, Bonu? I love Bonu.
It's a beautiful day. Don't throw it away. No. Bonhoeffer. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. But I actually don't know much about this Bonhoeffer guy. I mean, I hear he likes to wear dresses at a young age. But if we're going to hire a church history lecturer, we really need to learn a bit more about this Bonhoeffer. It's funny, dear, isn't it? Alan, you're the smartest man in the universe. You know everything. What can you tell us about this Bonhoeffer character?
Well, it says here on his resume that he was born in 1906 and he was child number 6 of Karl and Paula Bonhoeffer. That's what it says here, bro. His father was a prominent professor of psychiatry and neurology, and his mother was one of the few women of her generation to obtain a university degree. So, of course, as to be expected, Bonhoeffer himself was smart as bro. So smart, bro. His interests took him beyond the traditional realm of German academia, and his intellectual and theological achievements won him early renown. Oh no, guess what, bro? He completed his PhD in 1927 at the amazingly young age of 21.
That's impressive.
That's nearly as good as us, bro. His dissertation was entitled Sanctorium Communio. So it was about the communion of the saints, bro. In particular, it was about how sociology and theology relate to each other. It's a good read, bro, although he did make a few amateur mistakes. But on the topic of dissertations, bros, I would just like to draw attention to my dissertation. It's been recently published. It's entitled One Lord, One People, the Unity of the Church in X in its literary setting.
I think I should buy that.
It retails at $169, or you can borrow it from the library. And just so you know, I do check who borrows it from the library. So far, only one person has borrowed it, and that's Vaughn Smith.
Okay, get back to the text. Back to the text there, Alan.
Sorry, bro. Well, it says here that in 1928 he served as vicar in the German parish of Barcelona. Then, in 1930, he completed his theological exams and studied at Union Seminary in New York, USA. So yeah, just like me, he left his home country and went and studied theology in the US. It was there that he also became active in the newly born ecumenical movement. And guess what? It was here that he also made heaps and heaps of contacts, bro. Heaps of international contacts. And these contacts would one day come in handy to work as resistance against Hitler. Soon after that, bro, in 1931, Bonhoeffer began teaching at the theological faculty in Berlin. So I guess he returned to Germany just as Hitler was rising to power, and he quickly saw the connection between Hitler's treatment of the Jews and the racial discrimination that had been seen in America, bro. You know how they once treated the Africans, bro? Apparently during this era, full of Nazi atrocities, that is the era of the 1930s and 40s, the German church was quiet. Except, of course, for the voice of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. The voice of this young pastor rang out loudly and clearly. He was so loud, bro, so loud. I think it seems clear that Bonhoeffer and other Christians in Germany face the question of how religion is to affect politics.
So, guys, in this postmodern, high-context society in the 1930s, what exactly is this guy making him name himself like that?
Well, Samuel, I think you'll find on the 30th of January, 1933, the Nazi Party came to power in Germany with Adolf Hitler as its leader. Now, it wasn't long before Hitler made it impossible for his power to be challenged by implementing laws that prohibited freedom of speech and speaking against the Nazi Party in any form. Any violation made against these laws was punishable by death or imprisonment. Now, Hitler's most controversial law was known as the Aryan Law. This law set Jews apart as a separate group within the country, taking away almost every right they had as German citizens. Jews were legally forbidden to run a business, attend schools, even go to universities or to German shops. And history tells us that millions of Jews were murdered as a result of these laws. The most disturbing aspect of these atrocities, however, was the response of the church. Many German Christians and pastors were convinced that Hitler's laws were good for the church and would bring about a glorious new age. Hitler was revered as a spiritual leader and the nation of the nation, and anyone protesting against him was condemned by the German church. Thousands of pastors pledged their allegiance to Hitler and the National Socialist Party and joyfully signed the Aryan Clause and implemented it within their churches. Bonhoeffer, however, saw that the atrocity of what was happening and how contrary it was to the Bible's teachings. He publicly and boldly spoke against Nazism and the National Church. He headed the resistance movement against the National Church and its alliance with Hitler's ideologies. However, Bonhoeffer's resistance efforts were purely on a theological level at this stage.